Good morning and welcome to Sips of Sanity. I'm Kelly.
Hi, I'm Karen.
This is our mini-series show. It happens once a month. It is your emotional and intuitive intelligence toolkit. The first show is free to everyone in the public, and then the 4 shows after it are found on patreon.com/bysarlo in many of our tiers. So if you do want the rest of the series, you can check that out. It's an excellent membership portal for all kinds of education that we're really excited about. And we are starting a book club in the new year. So if people are looking for these tools and resources, we're going to walk you through it step by step, which is super fun. That aside, you've got a really cool show for us to round out November and walk us into December. This has been a bitch of a year. And you titled this, Shit You Should Know. Okay, so Karen, this is random, you mentioned. We just kind of you put the list together, and we're going to talk about just random tools that are really important, especially walking into a new year, new you. Okay.
The very first one, Kelly, is not letting people get away with their shit.
Okay, that's very general.
And in particular, not answering your question.
Okay, so don't let people skirt around your questions.
Yeah. And I mean, our followers who know the forms of verbal abuse are going to go to that list and go, she's talking about letting people get away with diversion, with changing the subject. Some people do it in the form of not answering your question at all. They pretend that they didn't hear you, and they're standing right beside you and go, oh, I didn't hear you. When you know they did, and they know they did. And what they're trying to do is be dismissive. Some of them will change the subject altogether and throw a whole bunch of other topics, maybe about you, maybe about other things, maybe about things in the past. And the point is, don't let them get away with that. Stick to your point, stick to your question. And if they cannot come back to that, if you make a second attempt to go back to your original question or issue, if they can't get there with you, they refuse, accept that, and shut it down.
Good.
And shutting it down can mean just simply saying, I see you are unable to answer this or to participate in this conversation. Walk away. And if they say, oh, no, now I want to. No. Just walk away. Don't let them have that level of control. Because that's ultimately what they're trying to do, is to assert control, and they see that you have it. Even if you don't really, because you're asking a question, they see it that your question in and of itself is a control over them.
What emotional waste.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're going to feel energetically drained during that process.
And it's important that in this, you're recognizing what the verbal abuse is and that you're not going into being over responsible to guide them through the conversation.
There's the happy dance because, and I say it's the happy dance because you're becoming aware of a pattern. You're becoming aware of where you can be healthy in your part, and you can maintain your level of healthiness. And you get to observe the behavior of the other person to say healthy, unhealthy. Healthy, check mark, continue. Unhealthy, pause. Give it one shot to see if you can help them identify that. That's great. That's kindness, that's emotional intelligence, that's openness. They shut you down that second time, done.
Disengage.
Walk away, save your energy for somebody else, another day, bring it to therapy, whatever.
That's good.
Bring it to someone else, ask someone else, just find other choices and solutions to this. The next one is to confront someone who slides in unacceptable conversation when you're speaking. So many of us overlook those people, or I think about social situations where someone might ask you a serious question. What do you do for a living, or whatever, and you go to answer it, and somebody else slides in their comments about your occupation. Or they, and I'm not talking about children here, I'm talking about adults who are supposed to know better and know, I'll say, social etiquette and respect. So when someone is purposely blowing past etiquette, stop it. I'm saying address that person, or take your conversation with the person that you want to engage in and perhaps move your body or move yourself into a different direction.
This is where I coach many people to develop a script where they have a couple one-liners, maybe one word, 2 words at best, where it's not a big script to remember, because at that point you're likely caught off guard. Potentially a lot of people are, or we freeze, right? And so if we have 1 or 2 words like, that was inappropriate, that's unnecessary, that was uncalled for, right? Just those tiny little cocktail lines that we can slip in to acknowledge that that was not appropriate is addressing the situation and not letting them get away with their shit. And, some people are going to be like, well, this is confrontation. Well, that's uncomfortable. Yes, but that's also your responsibility.
Oh, I love that you're saying that's your responsibility. I know as a reformed people pleaser, my level of discomfort in having to address anybody. So when you say that about have your cocktail line ready, know what it is you're going to say in advance. Practice it with other people if you want, so that when that situation occurs, you're ready. You're not uncomfortable. Oh my God, I would remember my anxiety would go through the roof if I had to do something like that. It's different now because I have tools.
And practice.
Yeah.
And I think, people hear the tool and still panic.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you have to practice the skill first.
Especially when people use the putting you down, like, oh, you're in a bad mood. Oh, you're sensitive. Especially when a criticism comes at you because you've stood up for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are hypersensitive to criticism, then that was totally me to a T. They knew how to set me off by purposely doing it to me and then watching me squirm. And they thought that was hilarious. And I had to be able to sit down and go, well, they're assholes anyway. So why am I caring about any of this? And as soon as I stopped caring about any of it, it was just like, well, they don't care. Why am I caring? There's no respect for me. They don't deserve mine. And that goes back to that people-pleasing stuff, those rules and those core beliefs, that I was caring more about what everybody else thought about me in that room or in that group than I cared about my own self. And when I got to caring more about myself and less about everybody else, it became okay for me to say, that's disrespectful, or that's uncalled for, or that was uninvited conversation. Like, now I'm better. And if they confront and say, oh, you sound like you're really in a bad mood, I just look at them blankly like, I don't know what you're thinking, and I'm not taking any of that. And sometimes your look of,
oh, yeah,
is awesome.
I've done, okay, well, that's enough of that.
And Kelly, I've sat in front of the mirror practicing my looks.
Yep.
Oh, and everybody who watches this show on YouTube knows I've practiced my looks.
Well, I think there's some very unpracticed looks that come out on YouTube.
Well, I'm less scared. I'm less intimidated.
That was where you were supposed to say, that's unnecessary.
Yeah, which leads me to the very next one on the list, to confront bad behavior the first time. And that was one of my past habits, was that I let things slide.
Well, can I go? Again, this comes with building a skill. So potentially your goal that you set for yourself is to confront it the first time, because we're not always going to feel ready to do that. We might not always have the skill right there when we're in freeze mode. And that's okay. So if you can set the goal to kind of push it back to not the third time, but the second, and then not the second, but the first time, then you're working towards something, and that's great. And I think what people, I mean, I'm sure everyone hopes that they wish they could do it on the first time. What you need to know is that you're going to work towards lessening your anxiety because you're not stewing over a situation that happened 2 and 3 times. And then you're not worried about how to reapproach a situation after it's blown over, right? Because a lot of people who practice poor behavior come back with, "You're not over that?" And we feel silly for having stewed in it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year. And we have so much shame that it's still bothering us,
Right.
that we miss the whole issue. And that goes back to number 1 and 2, right? Is they drag us off point.
Right. I think these 3 go beautifully together. And as you said, just to be able to simply make a goal that you're going to do it one less time. And that you're going to prepare your lines in advance to know what you want to say. I remember sitting down with like a clipboard and a pen and writing down things as they happened to me where I was uncomfortable and didn't stand up for myself. And then after the fact, as you say, you sit and you stew in it, write down then what I wanted to say the next time. And that's when I used the books like Patricia Evans' book on verbal abuse, where I learned how to create better structured sentences, questions, and because I don't want to call them comebacks, but where I learned how to do that in a better way, and then I wrote them down.
Well, you're talking about responding to someone instead of reacting.
Yes. And so my responses became, and I don't want to just say more controlled, but they became better thought out. They became better constructed. And once I knew what I was going to do or how I was going to respond, I was better prepared. My anxiety went down and I felt more comfortable in social situations. So my social anxiety changed. It really decreased. So these 3 go beautifully together.
Good. Let's
Now,
wrap that up.
oh, and we have tons. I don't know how we're going to get all these in for them in 5 days. But
Maybe we won't, patrons.
oh,
We often do bonus shows when we can't fit it in 5.
True. Okay, we'll see how this goes for them.
Okay, so if you guys have questions or comments about today's show, you can email us at info@bysarlo.com. Thank you for listening, no matter where you're tuning in from, whether it's YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're just appreciative that you're here. You can like, share, comment, review, write a testimonial, and most importantly, subscribe if you can. We very much appreciate that. We hope you have a great Monday, and that if you are interested in more shit you should know, that you'll join us on patreon.com/bysarlo. Take care.